My wife left me for another man, and surprisingly, I've never been happier. When she told me she was in love with someone else, it felt like my entire world had been turned upside down. We had been together since our early 20s, building a life I thought was based on love, trust, and commitment. We had 3 wonderful children, shared countless memories, and faced life's challenges together, or so I thought. The revelation came one ordinary evening. She sat me down with a serious expression on her face and told me she had met someone at work. They had only known each other for a few months, but she said she was in love with him. She told me she no longer loved me and wanted a divorce. I remember sitting there, stunned, trying to process her words. It felt unreal, like something out of a bad dream. How could she drop this bombshell so casually, as if it didn't threaten to destroy everything we had built? I kept waiting for her to say she was kidding, but that moment never came. At first, I refused to accept it. I thought it was just a phase. Maybe she was feeling unappreciated or going through a midlife crisis. I was determined to fight for our marriage. I suggested counseling, tried to reignite the romance, and even asked her to think about the impact on our children. I started bringing her flowers, planning date nights, and doing all the little things I thought might remind her of the love we once shared. But nothing worked. She was firm about her feelings and unwilling to stop seeing him. She seemed distant, emotionally checked out, like a stranger I no longer recognized. The breaking point came when she disappeared for an entire weekend without telling me where she was going. Later, I found out she had spent it with him. That's when I realized I couldn't keep fighting for someone who didn't want to stay. I asked her to leave, and she moved in with him shortly after. Before she walked out the door, she told me she deserved to be happy, a phrase that still echoes in my mind. Her words felt like a knife twisting the wound she had already caused. Our divorce was finalized in early 2022. The process was exhausting, but despite the betrayal, I knew I had to stay calm to ensure a fair settlement. I managed to keep the house and my car, a classic Pontiac Firebird that I had restored myself. However, I had to give up a significant portion of my earnings, which felt unfair given the circumstances. I reminded myself that material possessions could be replaced. What truly mattered was maintaining my dignity and securing stability for our children. The divorce hit our children hard. My sons, who had always been close to their mother, were especially devastated. They felt betrayed and stopped speaking to her altogether. My daughter, being younger, tried to maintain a relationship with her, but every conversation left her more upset. I did my best to be there for them, offering comfort and creating a stable home environment. I took on new roles, helping with homework, attending school events, and even learning how to braid my daughter's hair. These moments, though bittersweet, brought us closer. Months passed, and just as I was starting to regain my balance, my ex-wife began calling me. She said she had made a mistake and wanted to come back. Her new partner, the man she left me for, turned out to be an abusive alcoholic who wasted her money, leaving her financially ruined. I listened to her pleas but remained firm. I told her she wasn't welcome back and that she needed to face the consequences of her actions. There was no anger in my voice, just quiet determination. I wasn't the same man who had begged her to stay. At that time, I was still healing, but those calls made me realize something important. I didn't miss her. In fact, I felt a sense of relief. Our marriage had been far from perfect, but I had overlooked its flaws because I believed in our vows. Now that she was gone, I saw things more clearly for the first time in years. I began focusing on myself. I picked up hobbies I had neglected, fixing cars, hiking, and even learning to cook. I reconnected with old friends who had drifted away during the chaos of marriage and parenting. It was my sister who encouraged me to start dating again. She introduced me to someone she thought I would connect with, and to my surprise, she was right. My new partner is kind, supportive, and brings out the best in me. We've decided not to remarry, but we are deeply committed to each other. She understands my past and never pressures me to rush into anything. Being with her feels effortless, like a breath of fresh air, for the first time in years. I truly feel happy now. When my ex found out about my new relationship, she tried reaching out again. She even used our son's wedding as an excuse to contact me. Her messages were filled with nostalgia, reminders of the good times we had, and subtle hints of regret. But I stayed distant. It wasn't out of spite. I simply believed she needed to face the reality of her decisions. She had chosen to break up our family, and the consequences were hers to deal with. At the wedding, I watched her from a distance. She looked tired, a shadow of the woman I once loved. Meanwhile, I stood beside my new partner, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Looking back, I realized that her leaving was the best thing that could have happened to me. It forced me to face my fears, rediscover my passions, and rebuild a life that was truly mine. It taught me that happiness doesn't depend on someone else. It comes from within. Our kids are thriving now, too. My sons have found their own paths, and my daughter has grown into a strong, independent young woman. While they've all chosen to keep their distance from their mother, they've embraced this new chapter of our lives with resilience and grace. As for my ex-wife, I don't hold any resentment. I've let go of the bitterness because it no longer serves me. If anything, I feel grateful. Her betrayal was painful, but it set me free. So yes, my wife left me for another man, but in doing so, she gave me the chance to find myself again, and I've never been happier. Before we continue, a quick favor. If you're enjoying this story, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us share more amazing content. Now, back to the story. Life has a funny way of teaching lessons. Sometimes, lessons come wrapped in joy and laughter. Other times, they arrive through heartbreak and pain. In my case, the lessons came with the heavy burden of betrayal and the slow, deliberate process of rebuilding. It all started when my ex-wife made a decision that forever changed the course of our lives. She left me and our family for another man, someone she believed would bring the excitement and passion she thought were missing in our marriage. It wasn't just a betrayal that hurt. It was the disregard for the life we had built together, the family we had created, and the promises we had made. At first, I was a mess. The days blurred into nights, and my mind replayed every argument, every moment of doubt, wondering what I could have done differently. But as time passed, I realized something important. Her leaving wasn't about me. It was about her choices, her desires, and ultimately, her mistakes. Recently, my ex confided in our daughter that she had left her new partner. His drinking and reckless behavior had taken a toll on her. He had drained her savings, wrecked her car, and left her feeling more alone than ever. She admitted to our daughter that she had made a huge mistake by leaving our family for someone else. She barely knew. While I outwardly expressed sympathy when my daughter told me this, a part of me couldn't help but feel vindicated. She had traded stability and love for a fantasy, and now she was paying the price. It was a harsh reminder of the consequences of impulsive decisions. Meanwhile, my life was flourishing in ways I never imagined it could. My partner and I were planning a vacation to Hawaii, a trip my ex and I had always dreamed of but never took. Back then, life always got in the way: bills, kids, work. But now, with someone who shares my values and makes life feel lighter, it was finally happening. I couldn't resist the idea of sending her a postcard, not out of malice, but as a subtle reminder of what she had lost. The fallout from her choices, however, extended far beyond her personal life. It affected her relationship with our children in ways I don't think she ever anticipated. My sons, who were once close to her, now remain distant, refusing to engage. They've seen the turmoil she brought into their lives and struggled to forgive her for the upheaval. My daughter, who is more empathetic by nature, still talks to her occasionally, but even their conversations often end in tears, frustration, or anger. The damage to their relationship is profound, and it breaks my heart to see how much it has affected them. I've done my best to shield my children from the brunt of the pain. I've worked tirelessly to create a loving and stable home for them, a sanctuary where they can feel safe and cherished. In many ways, I think they've come to appreciate the effort. My bond with my children has never been stronger. As for my ex, her life seems to be spiraling further out of control. The man she left me for turned out to be a nightmare, a toxic presence who brought chaos and instability into her world. He not only drained her resources, but also shattered her illusions of a better life. What she thought would be an escape turned out to be a trap. Reflecting on everything, I realize how much I've grown since the divorce. The experience forced me to reevaluate my priorities and focus on what truly matters: my kids, my health, and my happiness. It wasn't an easy journey. There were sleepless nights, moments of self-doubt, and days when I questioned whether I'd ever feel whole again. But with time, I started to find myself. I threw myself into hobbies I'd neglected for years, like hiking and photography. I began working out regularly, not just to stay fit, but to clear my mind and find a sense of peace. Most importantly, I made a conscious effort to be present for my children, to show them that even in the face of adversity, we could rise above it together. My new relationship has been another unexpected blessing. My partner is everything I didn't know I needed: patient, understanding, and supportive in ways that feel effortless. She didn't just step into my life. She embraced it with all its complexities and challenges. Together, we've built a life filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. There's a joy in our home now that I never thought I'd experience again. Whether it's family movie nights, cooking dinner together, or planning future adventures, every moment feels meaningful. It's a stark contrast to the tension and uncertainty that once filled my days. As for my ex, she's left to face the consequences of her actions. While I've moved on to a brighter, more fulfilling chapter, she's grappling with regret and the fallout of her choices. It's a stark contrast, and in some ways, it feels like justice. I remember a conversation we had not long after she left me. She accused me of being too predictable, too focused on work, and not spontaneous enough. At the time, her words stung, and I internalized them, questioning whether I was a problem. But looking back, I see things more clearly now. Stability isn't boring. It's the foundation of a good life. And while she chased excitement, I was building something real, something that lasts. Looking back, I'm grateful for the journey. It wasn't easy, but it taught me resilience and the importance of self-worth. My wife's decision to leave was painful, but it ultimately set me free to create the life I deserve. I've also learned the importance of forgiveness, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger and resentment would only have held me back. Letting go allowed me to truly heal and move forward. To anyone going through something similar, I want you to know this: it gets better. The pain you feel now won't last forever. With time, effort, and a little bit of faith, you can rebuild and find happiness again. My story isn't just about loss. It's about redemption, growth, and the power of new beginnings. I've come to see my divorce not as the end of something, but as the start of something better. A chance to rediscover myself, rebuild my life, and create a future filled with hope and possibility. And as for that trip to Hawaii, it's more than just a vacation. It's a symbol of everything I've worked for, a reminder that even after the darkest storms, the sun will shine again. So, to my ex, wherever she is now, I wish her well, not because she deserves it, but because I do. Letting go of bitterness has allowed me to find peace, and for that, I am grateful. And to you, my listeners, thank you for being part of this journey. If my story resonates with you or offers even a glimmer of hope, then sharing it has been worth it.